Uh, when we last caught up, Merrick and Australia was about to kick off. I think it
Hmm.
was around February. You said it's exactly where you want to be.
Absolutely. Well,
How's it been?
the station's absolutely where I wanted to be. Obviously, the brand fit for me at Triple M is always a great fit, but I feel coming back to Triple M that it's an even better fit for me now than it was when I was first doing Drive a couple of years ago. I think the fit for show for me as a personality is absolutely perfect. It's ideal because I'm allowed free reign, but it's being able to show a different side, a different dimension of myself that I really enjoy, which is not something that everybody gets to do in radio. So I can be as funny as I like for as long as I like, but also too, I can talk very seriously about a news topic or an informative piece. Um, and there's a diversity in the type of content that I'm doing, which I really enjoy. It's not just static. It's not one level of content, which is just do jokes, and it becomes predictable.
Yeah.
There's really dynamic gear changes within the show and within the setting of the hours that I find really enjoyable. It feels like great. Feels like I'm making great radio. It feels like I'm doing working at the highest level I can work at. So, for example, we talk about something very serious, a topic. We can do some phones on it. People will call through. They'll offer their opinion, which whenever we do opinion pieces, the phones explode.
Yeah.
They just melt, which I love. People give their opinions, it's very serious, and then literally, you play a song and you come back and there's a massive gear change, and we'll do something that's really funny. And it'll be quite silly. And there's that kind of gear change and that ability to switch your content and the type of content you do really rapidly, and people seem to like it. And I personally, I love it. I love that feeling of just being really passionate about something very seriously, and then just going righto and acknowledging it and saying on air, okay, that was pretty heavy. Let's have a gear change and talk about this, and just bang. And I love that. It seems very adult.
Yeah.
So
From coming from you.
yeah, I know, which is weird because I am the biggest man child in radio, but I like that. It's a great fit. Like I said, you get to show different elements of your personality. I think that um, people like you more as a personality when they see more dimensions to you as well, because nobody really wants to be friends with anybody who appears to be one dimensional. If they've only got one, kind of facet to their personality, then you kind of don't, you can't trust them. You can't bond with them. But when people go, you know what, I feel that way about that topic. That's a serious thing. I don't like, porn shaming, or I don't like that, um, or or something. I'm really passionate about that as well. I think we should do that. Then they bond with you, and people will always like your comedy, but they will judge your personality sometimes more on how you feel about things, and your personality as a reflection on a more serious topic.
The one thing that's standing out is threads of AM.
Mm.
It's the one thing you talked about when we first caught up back
Yep.
in February. You said, take some of the AM fundamentals
Yep.
and push it across to FM.
Absolutely, and there's nuances, there's small parts, and there's kind of those more major elements that are obvious. So, obviously, opinion. That's a classic AM ripoff. I've just stolen that. But I don't do it the same way that they do it. I do it less about my opinion.
Yeah.
I do it more about tell me your opinion.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that I'm an experienced enough broadcaster and the personality type of a broadcaster to go thumping the desk and giving my opinion on what politicians should do. It's more about saying, this doesn't seem right to me. What's your opinion on it? And that is that kind of more, it's an FM slant on a kind of more traditional AM technique. But there's also too, the nuances of AM that I bring into the show that I've always wanted to do. One of the things I love about doing the show as a solo host is that I can talk to the listeners for as long as I like, and I don't just say, give me a story and then get rid of them and don't say goodbye. I hate that. I've always hated that in radio.
Yeah.
I talk to people and then I say, thank you very much for your call. I really appreciate it, because I do. I genuinely appreciate them calling through.
Yeah.
But I've had so many people over the years say, you don't need to say that to them. Just move through to the next caller. Go, yeah, you don't need to say that to them, but I do. I don't go to a barbecue and hang out with my friends and tell a funny story and then just walk off.
Show over. See you later.
I should, because sometimes the jokes are that good, I should just leave. But to me, there's the kind of, and I think AM broadcasters, the really good ones, when they talk to their listeners, they sound like they really genuinely care about these people. And I think that sometimes for me that has been missing in the way I've spoken to my listeners. I want them to know, but I haven't always been directing the traffic. Now I am directing the traffic. So I get to spend as much time telling them how great I reckon they are. And I like that because I like bonding with a listener.
Yeah. One of the things Fitzy talked about when I spoke to him a few weeks back about Triple M was you've got a fair amount of control of your show, like gatekeeper kind of stuff. That's a bit of a rarity.
Absolutely, and it's not lost on me. I think the ability to work autonomously in a show is very, very rare. You usually get it if you're really completely off campus, like you're doing like in the old days, like a mid-dawn was the only time you get that kind of freedom. The other way you get it is through the power of your own ratings. If you're an incredibly successful breakfast show, if you're Colin Jackie, no one's telling you what to do with your content. You make decisions. Obviously, their programming and their producing elements would provide them with a lot of the content, but they have veto over it. With me, it's a little bit different. I think that there's a great mutual respect. I certainly feel, there's a great mutual respect between Mike Fitzpatrick and Jamie Angel and myself, where we know that all three of us genuinely love this brand. All three of us genuinely care about this brand and want to compete in this brand, and we want this station to thrive. So we're all on the same page. No one is kind of just dialing it in. So there's, we've got a simpatico relationship in what we want to achieve. But there's also, too, from them, I feel that there's a really great trust from them that I know what I'm doing, that I know how to execute these things, that I know how to handle the issues that might need a delicate hand on air. They know that I'm experienced enough that I can do that. I'm not a kid. I know what I'm doing. So as a result, we don't have clashes. We never have clashes. We just have very, very easy conversations, and we don't have a conversation about content where they're telling me what to do or not what to do. They'll look at the filtering of the content. They don't say, do this content, do that content. This is how you should be doing the content. I'll put forward what I think is, here's an agenda of what I think we might do on the show today. Here's the 2 hours. What do you guys reckon? And we just sit there with the producers and we just kind of talk it through every day. And
is that where you also then work out how you're going to interleave? So you're not focusing just all on one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I just say, look, it's really good because both guys, both Jamie and Fitz, have got different ideas and really, really good focused. I suppose not opinions, but they've got an ability to see certain things that you can't see objectively because you're in it. So they can look out and they go, Mez, you might want to balance that. If you do that at the top of the hour, you might not want to do this at the bottom of the hour because it's too similar.
Yeah.
And you need to diversify your content there.
Do you need that perspective? Because you're too close to it, yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's more about them offering, genuinely constructive advice rather than telling me what to do.
Yeah.
They don't need to tell me what to do. And that's why we don't have any, there's no dramas between me and any management.
Yeah.
It's because there doesn't need to be. There's a mutual respect there. They know that I know what I'm doing. I know that they in the positions they're in because they know what they're doing and they know implicitly how to employ those devices for this radio station, for this market, for this and for the brand. So there's a mutual trust. If they say to me, "Yeah, I don't think you should do that," then I go, "Oh, okay, yeah, actually, you're right." So I don't argue. Oh, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. You don't know what you're talking about. That never happens. Never.
Yeah.
So that I think that fluid conversation between programming and the show allows me to have the autonomy, but it's not entirely autocratic. But it is, in some ways. But what it does is it allows things to facilitate very quickly. We're not bogged down in meetings for hours and hours and hours arguing about the validity of certain content. It's just as simple as this. What do you reckon about this? And they go, yeah, good, but I reckon you should put it in the second hour rather than the first hour because you're going to speak to that person. Then you go, oh, yeah, good call. Yeah. Bang. And that's it. Meeting, walk out, and then I just work on my content and then I go to air.
Okay. Let's talk drive.
Yep.
It's a bloody crowded space.
Most competitive market I have seen in my career.
Yep.
And something that I don't know, and I could be proven wrong, so feel free to prove me wrong if it is indeed incorrect, but I don't think it is. There is Everybody knows that Drive is a crowded market and there's a lot of talented people, but I don't think people have fully registered just how much talent, bona fide talent, is in Drive at the moment, and that's why it is such a competitive market. Because if you look at the 4 FM broadcasters, and although Triple M sits differently in a different sandpit and we play a different game, we're still in the FM market. But you've got Nova, Kiss, and Hit as well. Between the 4 network Drive shows that you have there, every single person on air knows what it's like to be number one in market.
Yeah.
Everyone. The majority of people have won Acris for best on air team.
Mm.
It is an incredibly competitive market. If you look at Sydney, there's lots of people doing breakfast in Sydney who don't know what it's like to be number one. There's lots of people in Melbourne who don't know what it's like to be number one. There's people in Brisbane who don't know what it's like to be number one. But every single person who's currently doing Drive in those 4 FM markets knows what it's like to be the leader of their game. They know what it's like to be at the pinnacle. So as a result, the standard is raised. It is a very competitive market, not so much in like viewing what other people do and how they do it and focusing on the competition. It's about pushing yourself for your own content. You know that the level of content needs to be at a certain level for it to be acceptable because they're your peers. Now, these are my friends as well.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the other thing too. Everyone I'm, competing against in Drive, every one of them is a friend of mine. So it's about pushing yourself because you don't want to be looking like the lazy underachiever. You want to be a part of your peers and you want to work at that level of professionalism. And I think that's what will drive a lot of people. I know that would probably drive particularly Hughesy because he's very competitive like me. And Hughesy and I have been mates for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
And I know that he would be applying himself very professionally with Kate because they would recognise that they are in a very, very competitive peer-based market.
Okay. Do you set performance objectives for yourself?
Absolutely. Every day. It's always try to... The first thing is consistency.
Yeah.
I always say you should be... At the start, when you start a new show, you should be happy with at least 3 days a week of your show. No more. You should only be happy with 3. You should have 3 shows where you just go, they were good shows, I'm happy with those. The other 2 shows you should have big question marks over. And then eventually what you want to do is you want to whittle that down. And by 6 months where I am now, I've probably fast-tracked it because being autocratic, the loop is smaller, so I can make decisions to fix things quicker without having to defer or speak to anybody else about it.
Yeah.
So the consistency thing becomes 5 days a week. So now I'm happy with every show that goes to air every week. I'm always happy with a show. And then it's about, looking at the minuscule and saying, well, I'm unhappy with 3 breaks this week. There was 3 breaks that I'm unhappy with. And then that goes down to 1 break until eventually, you might have a week where you have not one single break that you're unhappy with. If you get that, then you're working at a pretty high standard, a pretty high level. So that's my marker. I worry about ratings. I mean, I want it to rate. I want the show to continually to grow in ratings. But what's important to me is making sure that the consistency of program that goes out every day is just getting better and better and better. The breaks are getting better. They're getting tighter. They're getting smoother. My anchoring's getting better and smoother, which it has. At the start of the year, my anchoring was a bit sketchy because it's not something that I've done. Now I think my anchoring is okay. I don't think it'll ever be amazing, but that's not what my sole focus is. But if I can get to a point where I can have 1 break every now and again, just go, I think that was a bit ordinary, then that's okay. I'll allow myself that, but I won't allow myself to have one of those breaks every day.
Cool. One of the things that stood out to me when last time we spoke was you said, go in the studio, have fun, and leave.
Yep.
What do you do when you leave to have fun?
I leave at 6 o'clock. I'm out the door pretty quick. I'm not going to lie. I'd like to say, look, sometimes I sit around on a Friday. I might have a couple of beers with the boys, with the techies, and we kick the footy around in the office. But generally, I go home and see my family, and I look forward to going home and seeing my family. I believe that you can have the most fun in the studio if you do all the work before you go in. That's the trick. Anyone in radio knows that. do as much work as you can before you go into those studio doors, so that when you go in, the only thing that you have to do is have fun. You don't have to do any work in there. It's not work.
Yeah.
All it becomes is just the execution of the ideas that you've had beforehand. But if you go in there ill-prepared or something like that, that's when you have that sloppy inconsistency, and that's when you know you're not meeting your potential. Do all the work, hard, all day, get it done, get it right, and so then when you walk in at 4 p.m., it's just performance, purely performance.
Cool. Merrick, thanks for the chat.
Welcome.